All right, what's going on, everybody? It is the Divergence King, the Indicator King. My mother named me Peyton Pilgrim. So today we are getting into another quick analysis. So I'm about to run through everything. First things first, tonight we have some NZD news. They are looking to raise their rates. What I'm really looking forward to, though, is this for London. All right, their GDP, they're projecting that they aren't going to necessarily have the worst month over month. I don't really care if it gets worse or if it gets better or any of that stuff. All I care about is that this is big news that will probably shake the market. Then at 7:30, we have more news that's going to shake the market. CPI and core CPI. So they're expecting the basically inflation to get worse, and that's not good, obviously. And then an hour and 30 minutes after that, the CAD is supposed to raise their interest rates. So a ton, and then oil, of course, comes out at 9:30 every Wednesday. But man, a ton of news coming out tomorrow, and I mean, in a couple of hours even right here. So the market should move, right? So I want to start it off on this chart here. You can see we are on all the different currency futures. Today, this dollar pretty much rejected right at this 4-hour divergence fib that we spoke about earlier in the week. And it started to kind of come back into the 50 EMA, and it looks like it did break that EMA. But regardless, at this point, I'm not 100% sold that the dollar is just going to sell off. But you can see the dollar sold off today, and everything else went bullish against the dollar. We might be seeing a possible turnaround. In my opinion, I think it's possible, right? The Australian dollar looks like it might have just gotten a stop hunt. The pound maybe putting in an inverted head and shoulders. The euro came right to its 4-hour divergence fib as well and produced a nice impulse. Here's the New Zealand dollar, and it did kind of give a nice impulsive move. Now, they're all very bearish still. The CAD, more or less, in a more consolidated area. And then Swiss franc, I'm still waiting for it to really bust out. Maybe something like this is going to happen now, maybe. And then the yen, right? The yen, to me, it's still under its all-time lows. But man, I just can't not want to look for this to continue up right here, right? So to me, what I'm going to be playing, and no one knows what's really going to happen at all. I take a drink. But what I'm going to be playing tomorrow is one of two things. Either the dollar is going to do this and kind of make an ABC wave down, which is going to bring an ABC wave to most of the market. And depending on, something could happen to any of these currencies, right? Say the pound gets extremely weak, it could double bottom. And then, we'll see how the market really plays out. It looks like the euro and the dollar didn't move necessarily as much as some of these other ones. And so I'm going to take a quick look at the dollar specifically really fast. What I'm looking at now is it's one of two things. Either we are going to see the market respect these fib levels, and it's going to do like an A, B, C wave into this area, or we're going to see another wave up for the divergence. So I could see that as well, come up and just clip a little bit higher and then fall. So that would look like this on the MACD, okay, and we would see something like that. Maybe like this on the RSI. I will most likely be looking for this to happen, 108.8. So I don't know if it's going to get that high because the waves are starting to decrease each time, but something like this, if we get that move all the way up here and there's still divergence, I'll really be watching the volume on this move. If it breaks this high, Or if it gets into here and shows rejection and volume picks up, then I'll kind of think we're coming down. All right, it's kind of how I'm playing the dollar. You can see an interesting look on the daily. We just printed somewhat of a rejection candle after a really big bullish candle. But what's important is the volume. So this big candle should come along with big volume, okay? But it didn't. This small candle should come along with small volume, okay? But it had more volume than the day before that looked like it did a whole lot more. So something is up. Definitely, we've been saying something is up on the dollar. This whole kind of move up. I'm almost convinced that this is getting ready to slam down. Now tomorrow, CPI, I'm not a fundamental analyst. Well, I can read the fundamentals, but I'm more of a technical analyst, and the technicals are literally just telling me we're going up, but the volume is drying up. So I'm leaning towards a bearish dollar tomorrow with this news, but I will say it might take 2 tries to get at it. So the first try is going to be somewhere up here. Second try is going to be somewhere up here. And that's how I'm going to play it. If I'm wrong twice, then I'm wrong twice. If the market does get into these levels, I will be looking for some type of bullish move. Either way, I'm more interested in the downside for the dollar, even though it has not formed any bearish structure besides 15-minute structure. Obviously, it broke all this, structure, and it held here. But it did break some structure, did impulse nicely, it did increase in volume, it did come down in the MACD. That's the dollar. I'm really focused on the DXY today, and then I'm gonna actually go look at the GBP. I really thought it had a chance to come all the way down into here, and I guess it still does. If we go to the weekly real quick, last week printed this rejection candle after sweeping these lows with not a lot of volume. You usually want to see more volume if it's going to go up, but regardless, it's not a lot to read off of that. Yesterday, last week didn't do much. 4-hour volume still hasn't necessarily gone crazy or anything, but there was volume there with that, just not insane volume. In the 1 hour, I can see a little bit of pickup right here, right? You can start to see it just pick up with that bullish volume. So that's good. You do want to see that if it's going to continue. You can kind of see here, it did that as well. It made this bullish move up. And when price came back into that, we had another bounce. And really, I'm just looking for intraday bounces. I'm looking for that possibility of a bounce. And so where the volume picked up, really, I would say started right here is where I would like the market to come back into and then make another wave up. Okay, we're right at the current week volume. This is going to be my target, last week's POC. So I like that. That hasn't, I guess it did get hit already from this week. So it makes me believe that there's still another leg down on G to the U. We have plenty of divergence for it. Either way, it's still a possibility. Yeah, I like this. Okay, so it's kind of where I drew that box, is where the daily volume showed up. Let's see if I go to lower time frame, if it'll go down lower. There we go. Perfect. So that'll be the play for GU. If it gets down there, I'm going to actually be looking for bam, bam, bam. Now, like just inverse of the dollar, if it goes, we already have a spot right here, pretty much. This backside trend line, we're already looking at that. If it comes down into there, don't really have to look too hard for that. The impulsive move on the, let's see, 4 hours, what I will be watching. I'll be watching to see if, because whenever the MACD, and how I read the divergence, whenever the MACD comes back into zero, the market's balanced. Okay. And then whenever it makes another move out, that just gives you a cleaner divergence. Okay. So this would be a negative, positive, and then it comes back in negative. Okay. We definitely made that divergence here. And as the market comes back into balance, if it will just go sideways, it will come back into like this. And then we'll make another move down possibly. So I'm waiting. If it does make this third move down, we're going to see 3-wave divergence, and that will be an ultimate trend change type position. But either way, I'm playing, and it's early. This is going to do most likely this. Okay, so I got to be very careful of how I really want to play the market tomorrow, because it does look like it's going to produce one more wave down, and then I'm going to go to the Australian dollar, and this one is the one, the one that I want to see, right? If this can get back above here, then I will be very bullish on it. Okay, I might take a position down here to try to get it before it comes back in, because that's going to be a great risk to reward. Okay, it's going to be very similar to GU in that aspect. Right here is the daily POC of yesterday, so I'm just going to put an alert. I didn't mean to lock it. All right, so if it can come down, that would mean AU has a chance for the same thing. Okay, coming into this. So we'll see. If it does this though, right, and comes into this area with divergence, then we're looking for that. All right. Let's go to the yen, because UJ looks like it has a possible setup, along with, you know, the dollar possibly doing this. Now, here's the thing. If the dollar goes all the way up here for that divergence move, that doesn't necessarily mean UJ is going to go all the way up here. Because if the yen is strong, if the yen does this and just kind of goes sideways and then starts to gain this strength, kind of just showing like this, then that's going to hold UJ down a little bit. And I kind of want to see this move. Okay, I want to see this type of play on the yen. So I'm not sure if it's going to come down and sweep this low first, maybe coming all the way into the 78.6, or if it's going to stop kind of at this level. I have no idea. I'm going to put my alert at this 78.6. And to be honest, it would be stronger for the trend of the yen for it not to come down that low. The deeper the retracement, technically, like the less strong that impulse really is. Obviously, if the market just does this, that, I mean, that's a completely insane bullish market. If the market's doing this, right, that's like a slow grind up. So really, if the yen, I want to see it just do that, because I just want to see it get back above these old all-time highs, so I can really have a long-term projection on where the yen is going to go. Okay, so if this thing does end up just rolling over, because that's what it low-key has been doing, like it'll consolidate and then roll over, and then it'll consolidate and then it just rolled over. So I mean, it's probably going to consolidate, and then if it wants to roll over again, it'll take some time to roll over. But I'm playing this, looking for that move. And then the Swiss franc, right, it's the same. It's still in this channel, within this channel. Okay, within this channel. No, I'm kidding. But it's, I want to wait for it to get down, all the way down at the bottom of this channel, hit the 78.6. It'll be perfect. But it too has a sign of, you know, momentum popping out. You can see it in the RSI. Sometimes the RSI will break a structure level before price breaks any structure levels. Okay, and that's just a sign of early momentum coming in. And sometimes you get wrecked doing that, but sometimes it pays off. So again, another one that has open volume right in the middle of the impulse by the fibs. So it's definitely a play that I'm going to be looking for. And is the whole market going to move at the same time? Probably. And will I pick the right one? I don't know. The CAD is the one I trade the least, but since there's CAD news tomorrow, I want to point this out. On the daily, it's inside this big channel. And it's pretty much been going down, but very slow and very ugly. When you raise rates, it's usually a bullish thing, but nothing's like that, like 100% set in stone. I'm thinking these lows are going to get taken out tomorrow, and then we're going to see a rejection maybe the next day. That's what I'll be looking for on the CAD. I don't necessarily care about this move right here. I guess if it extends up very fast, that's more than likely going to be a fake move. Okay. That if it moves that fast in one day, it's probably a fake move. Without taking this liquidity and it moving up like this, I don't think it's just going to go boom and then like retrace, boom, retrace, boom. I don't think that's what it would do. I think it would definitely do a fake move and then the next day erase it, erase this, and then maybe come up. So I don't really want to play this up here. I really want to watch it just sink here and reverse on these fools, because that would be ideal, right? You see a bear flag. Of course, people are going to sell when it breaks this low, or there's going to be sell limits or stops. There's going to be people, if it comes up here, definitely people selling. There's going to be a lot of liquidity in the market if it drops this low, which will give the big players opportunities to look to get in. And so if it does this, then you, let's see, you CAD should do the opposite, right? And then now let's look at gold real quick. Where's my gold locks? Boom. Gold's been ugly as fuck lately, so I probably don't even want to trade it, but let's see, on the weekly, it still has this bearish momentum to the downside, which at any moment could just snap and continue all the way down into these wicks. So don't forget that. CPI, gold moves crazy on some of these movements. It's an inflationary, currency. People flee to gold when there's high inflation, but recently, tell me how that's been looking. So I don't think that's really the wave. I think gold has a chance to just smash down into here, but obviously I would like it to come up here first and then come down. So let's just see what it does on the daily. Ooh, we got some high volume coming in with low movement or not a lot of movement. That's kind of a bottoming signal, possibly. The divergence is strong on this one. So not even making lower lows at all on the indicators, but this is still in this falling wedge. So ultimately, I would like for it to pop out and show some type of actual bullish impulse. You can see how every bullish move it's made has just been 1 hour candle. That's not enough for me to be interested in like a boom, boom, boom move. You know what a boom, boom, boom is, right? All right. So if you try to play gold on the lowest time frame, like 15 or 5, you might get chopped up. You might catch a good trade. It's more like 50-50 to me. So I'm either waiting for a big move up, or maybe I'll play the divergence. Oh, well, it's really close to the divergence fib for maybe a 1 hour divergence. You can see how the momentum has just, even right here, right? We had this big sink down, and then the next one didn't even clear that, and we're still coming down low, and we haven't cleared this. Same with the RSI. So I personally think there's going to be a pop in gold. Is it gonna last very long? I don't know. Ooh, so whenever you're looking at divergence and the RSI or the moving average of your choice, is this the 50? See, I knew it was 50. Okay. It's still, when the moving average of your choice, regardless what it is hugging price, it makes that divergence way weaker, because divergence is just a reverse, like a mean reversion play, not necessarily a market reversal play. But you can see This is coming back into this. If it does do this, I will be expecting that straight up. And that's pretty obvious on gold. Every time it kind of wants to get above this 50 or below the 50 EMA, it holds. And then once it gets above the 50 EMA, if it will show me that kind of right here, it holds. It's been freaking bearish. So obviously it's against the odds trying to buy it. I would really have to wait for some good confirmation, good structure, and all that jazz. It's freaking ugly right now, obviously. So let's just look at it. Maybe if I put a regression trend on it, which if you're not good at drawing channels, you just need to get the regression trend tool out and then make the standard deviation. Your free meeting will end in 10 minutes. Awesome. Okay, that's okay. Sometimes I'll put them at 3 deviations. Sometimes I'll put them at 2. So makes sense, makes money. Let's go to Bitcoin. Oh, so look, there's a lot of gaps in the futures market right now, which is usually gaps get filled, but there's been a ton of gaps in the futures market lately that haven't been getting filled. So like right here, and then we got more coming. So I just got to read this daily volume real quickness. Okay, I'm seeing it like 2020 right here. Here's what's going to happen. Bitcoin's about to make a lower low this week. The momentum is telling on itself though. So look, we have lower lows, and daily momentum is different than all this 1 hour shit. When you see this, when I see this on the daily, I want to really trade this, right? Right here, the momentum wasn't agreeing at all. And now we're starting to just pump lower, right? Like I'm talking this candle and then doosh, doosh. What's stopping the next day from looking like these 2 previous days? Nathan is stopping it. So here's what I'm looking at. And it's going to probably look a little bit different in the futures than it is on spot, but that's okay. I'm be really focused on the futures more. 16K incoming for Biddy. And in fact, I need to dial this down a little bit, probably to make it perfect. 16K exactly on Biddy incoming. And this is strictly off of this divergence. It's gonna look like the most perfect Wyckoff spring I've seen in a good minute. So yeah, well, I'm gonna try to probably buy the bottom of this, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't care. But look, this is perfect. A prolonged move down, you get a PSSC ARST, and I know that's a lot, so we're just gonna call it 1, 2, 3, and 4. And realistically, you don't even just look at this. How about this? We get a test down, another test down, and another test down. 3 tests that were all consecutively lower. That's what you're waiting for, okay? So right here would be the first one. This is a test. All this whole thing. And technically, if you wanted to look at it, it could have been 1, 2, 3, and then it kind of made a little move right here. But really, in a bigger scheme of things, like on a daily, we're looking at this, and this is 1. Then we broke lower, 2. We break lower right here, and that's 3, which we wanted to come down here into this beautiful magic line in the sand. And once it gets there, we need to see some volume pickup right there, right? We need to see some type of something right here. It could do this, or sometimes, which I hate when it does, it'll do this. It'll make this impulse, and then it'll do this. So sometimes it takes a couple tries in these areas. But either way, there's 2 ways to play it. You can try to play it down here and hope it doesn't just start sinking, because that's another thing. This shit could just go to the downside. With inflation and all these things coming out, this thing could tank. Don't get me wrong. So make sure you're playing it with a stop, or or if you're playing it with no leverage, understand that, you know, this damn well, really, I don't think this is going to be the bottom, but it could be, right? It could be a good position to add to your portfolio. And that's how I'm looking at it. Okay. So that's one way to play it. Or you can simply wait for it to come back above this little structured area right here. And once it does get it back above here, that's a really good sign that we should kind of continue up. And if we break this at any point at this point, I think we're going to the moon. No, I think we're going into this area, about 30K. And it's the same thing for Ethereum, guys. It has the same structure, right? I want it to, and AB kind of has a different look to it, in which it could seriously just turn around at any point. No one knows what it's going to do. It was a nice impulse. Okay. It has a nice impulse and it hit these fibs. And that's a good price. It's a good risk to reward. He's in there like swimwear right here, looking for a possibility for this to pop out. And it can, because look, it failed to break this low. It technically broke this high. So yeah, it could do this. But I'm waiting for the more Wyckoff type play. Okay. And it's, like I said, the same thing with Ethereum. They're in this range like a, and I'm looking at it on the futures really, but I mean, once this breaks on the futures though, that's the thing. This is the difference. So on Ethereum, on Coinbase or whatever, first of all, this looks like the craziest bear flag I've seen in a minute. Second of all this price action down here, let's just pick a spot, any spot. This looks like it held for a little bit. Let's just get a little technical with it. A spot that Ethereum could hold at. Okay, this was a high demand area. I'm going to make it demand. This was because obviously there was big volume came in right here, right? And then also I would say this area held as demand in the past as well. Okay, it held. So these would be the prices, I guess. I think we're already at this, so there's no reason to like mark this off. But as I mark it off, these are obviously the next areas that I expect price to get into when we're talking technicals. And the divergence fib would, okay, so this would be like 800. Now on the futures market, there is none of that. Okay, this is the lowest it's been. So these, I don't know how far it really can go. Okay, but if we're going to take the divergence fib of this range, it's lining up at 819, which is exactly where this is. Well, it's a little lower, so give or take a couple hundred or a couple bucks on this, but around that 800 mark is where I'm gonna be looking for Ethereum to possibly put in a scary low. Now you can see 5, 6. Man, I hope these don't do this like right now. But yeah, these things look like they have a good chance of making the move that I want to see. And if it is something like this, a 38% washout type of week, that would bring price right into this area. That'd be perfect. So I got about a minute left to just briefly look at the Dow and the indices. Okay. And it looks like on the daily, a little bit more volume. We're printing downside candles. Let's look at the volume on here. Ooh, this is like a speed analysis. This is fun. The volume on the Dow also, we had another bearish day with a little bit more volume, and the same thing on the NASDAQ. And so we've kind of been focusing on, oh, I pressed the wrong button. Kind of been focusing on the NASDAQ a little bit. And it does look like it kind of put in this double top, and we're going to start to sink down. So I'm not going to be playing this move here, which I don't want to say I'm not going to play it, because that's not 100% true, but I don't necessarily want to play this move here. I think the daily is kind of telling the story that we should kind of roll down, probably take out these lows and eventually come back down and make another lower low, kind of like the other crypto market. So that's it for me, guys. This Zoom is about to end. I appreciate y'all for coming on. I'll post the recording. Y'all have a good one. Peace out.